FXO means that it can it have two FSO interfaces, and the full FXO have four interfaces. And FXO means that foreign exchange exchange office. Yeah, you can also understand the O as the out. You should connect the cable with the telephone company. Okay, and the next page shows our FXS module, including the two FXS and the full FXS modules. The two FXS module got two FXS interfaces, and our full FXS modules got four FXS interfaces for analog phones or fax machines. And FXS means foreign exchange subscribers. So you need to connect this interface with our analog phones or fax machines. Okay, and the next page shows our GSM modules, including the 2GSM and the 4GSM. Our 2GSM means that you can insert two SIM cards, and while our 4GSM modules can insert four SIM cards. And our GSM module supports 3G network frequency band. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the next page shows our WCDMA module, including two WCDMA module and the full WCDMA module, which means our two WCDMA can support two SIM cards and four SIM cards in the full WCDMA, and they both support the 3G network frequency. And the next page shows our PRI module, include E1 or T1. So you should connect the interface with the RJ48 cable. Okay, and in this slide, it shows our T-series front panel and the back panel. Okay, and in the next page, let me go through our COOLOS T-series. The first one is our COOLOS T100S. It can support up to 100 extensions and 50 concurrent calls, 50 conference attendees. And it also supports up to 400 hours recording and voicemail. And by the way, it supports unlimited VoIP trunks. And in storage field, it uses 8 GB SD card. Okay, and the next product is our COOLOS T100. It also supports 100 extensions, 50 concurrent calls, and 50 conference attendees. And the difference between the T100 and the T100S is that our T100 can support two RJ11 interfaces. So you can pick any of one of the module to combine with our T100. Okay, and the next product is our COOLOS T100A4. It can support 100 extensions and etc. And the difference between the T100A4 and our T100 is that our T100A4 can support 4 RJ11 interfaces. That means you can pick any two of them. Two of the models. And the next slide shows our COOLOS T200. It can support up to 200 extensions, 80 concurrent calls, and up to 80 concurrent attendees. And it supports 15,000 our recordings and voicemail. And we have upgraded the storage to 1 terabyte surveillance HDD. The T200 can support 8 FXO, FXS, GSM, and WCDMA interfaces. Yeah. And in the next page, it shows our CoolOS T600. It can support up to 600 extensions and 150 concurrent calls, 150 concurrent attendees, and up to 15,000 hours recording and voicemail. And it can support up to 8 FXO or FXS, GSM, WCDMA, or EVA or TVI interfaces. In another word, you can pick any of the modules in this lab by different scenarios.
All right, and then let's show the back of the PBX. So so I'm using a T100A4 here as examples. So if we're looking from the left to right, on the left, so on each models of our PBX, we support the USB external drive storage, and the maximum capacity on the USB would be 1 terabyte. So you can use it if you're using a T100, since it is the 8 gigabyte SD cards built-ins. If you need to recording any save any recordings, or you need to upload any music or programs onto your PBX, you will definitely need a external USB. So that is the places or parts that you will be connecting your USB with the PBX. And then moving a little bit towards the right, we have the RJ11 interfaces. So that would be the FXS or the FXO interfaces. So it depends on the module that you pick. And on the T100, since it is the onboard module design, so you don't need, so if you need to replace the module, you do need to unpack and unscrew the box and then open the shell and replace the modules inside. While the T200 and the T600 is using the plug and place module, so you don't need to unscrew the PBX box. So all you need to do is to unscrew the little screw on the modules outside of the PBX and then plug in the module that you have. Then we have the console. So the console interface is mainly used for debug purpose. Then we have the network interfaces, the LANs and the WANs. And also we have the power. And we have the reset. So on the reset button here, you can use the reset button to reset the whole systems. So there will be 2 scenario cases here. For the first one would be when your PBX is running and you press the reset button and hold for around 6 seconds, then release the button. Then the light on the front will be flashing. Then the PBX will be start to reset the full systems. So when you are resetting the full systems, it will be erase everything on the PBX. So be careful when you're doing the reset process. Make sure that you have all the things that you need to back up, or your configuration files, your recordings, your music files, everything that you need to back up. Please back up it before you do the reset process. And then the second scenario here would be if the PBX is not running, is unpowered, we can press the reset button, hold for 2 or 3 seconds, and then have the power on. And then the PBX will be also start the reset process. So the difference, and both of the method both ways here will be erasing the whole IP PBX systems, including like system files and recordings and everything on the PBX. The difference between the first one, the one is running to reset, and the second one is not running and you power up, then reset. The major difference here is for the second method, it will be restart the containers within the PBX. So it will be, so I would suggest if you need to do the reset, do the second method. And then we have the then we have the EX16 as the expansion box. So it is a FXS gateways, and each of the gateways will support 16 FSS ports. So we have a generated a table here. For example, if you're having a project that is requiring for like 150 analog phones, in that case, you can use a T100 plus 6 of the ES16S for your project. Oh, I mean, if you're having 150 analog phone, then you will need to choose the second one, the T200s and 12 ES16S that will be providing you 192 CEF. And then the EX16S is auto configuration with our T series, the IPPBX. So if you're using the EX16S, there is the path would be under the add-ons. We have the Xbox here on devices. And if the EX16S is under the same network as the PBX, you can use the scan to scan the EX16S. And then after it's scanned out, we will be doing the configuration for the analog phone that is connected to the FSS gateway, such as like we will be assigning different extension number to the analog phone there. Okay, so we just quickly went over the content that we also shared for yesterday, and we will be drawing our first prize for today. So for those didn't participate on the yesterday's training, so let me introduce the instruction again here. So please read the question carefully and then send your answers in the chat box. And then we will be drawing the first participant who with the correct answer, and
he will win the prize.
Yep. So are we ready for it?
Okay, I will count down for 3. So 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So I am monitoring the checkbox here. Okay, I believe I got the first winner. I'm not sure if I can pronounce it correctly, but I will try my best. Wakas J. Did I pronounce it correct? Or like, did I even try like very close? Wakas? Is it Wakas?
No. Yes, I am Wakas from Network Solution.
Okay. Congratulations, Wakas. Please, I also have all the meeting notes saved here. So please drop me an email regarding to the price here. All right, so let's move on to the official technical training for today. So on the next sections, we will be introducing the basic setup for our IP PBX. I know setting up a PBX is not easy at all, and sometimes it can be like very confused and complicated. And by the way, for our PBX, we do provide the quick setup panels, which is right on the left bottom corners of the PBX panels. Please use the quick setup panels there. Okay, and the instruction here I'm providing, like accessing your PBX and then registering IP extensions, etc. So these steps is for people who would not like to use the quick setup panels. And then you can follow these steps to set up the basic features for your IP PBX. So let's go over all the steps here one by one. So first thing first, after you receiving the IP PBX, what you need to do is to access the PBX, right? So for all of the ZYCOO servers, we do have the, it come out with the static IP. It defaults on, if you're using the LAN port, it would be 1.100. If you're using the LAN port, it would be 10.100. So the easiest way, at least for me, the easiest way to access the PBX would be adding the same network segments to your computer and then connecting the PBX directly with your computer. That way, it will be provide you the easiest way to access the PBX. And then after we are able to log into the login interface, you should be able to see a page saying that your connection is not private. Then you need to click on the advanced buttons. And then after you click on it, right, like 3 centimeters below, there is a link called persist to whatever IP address is, like persist to 1.100 or persist to 10.100. Click on it, and then you should be able to see the picture on the right, which is the PBX login interface using the default login credentials. Both username and password are both admins. So using these login credentials to log in. And then after you log in, first thing you would like to do, besides changing your default password, username and password, the next thing you would like to do is to modifying your network address. So the path would be under systems, network, and then network profiles. Under then, you will be choosing you'll be inputting any IP address that you would like your IP PBX to have, and then inputting like the net mask, gateways, etc., and then submit for changing the network of your IP PBX. And then the next thing, so this step applies to the T600 only, because only the PRI module has to manually change the module settings. So now the modules like FXO, FSS, GSM, WCDMA, all of these 4 type of module, they are defaultly detected. But besides the PRI, so if you're using a E1s or T1s module, you do need to manually change the module settings for it. So the path would be under telephony and then preference module setting. And this page only applies on the T600 because for now, only T600 supports the PRI module. And then you would be switching the module type from the FSO / and then switching to the E1 and T1s, and then fill in all the required information for your E1 and T1 modules, such as the overlaps, diodes, and the signaling, etc. And then click on save. Then we'll be rebooting the PBX systems. And the next thing that we would like to do is to checking the trans status. So under dashboard trans, you'll be able to seeing all the chunks you have and the status of each chunk. So on the chunk section here, we have 3 different type of chunks. So we have the zip chunks, we have the IAX, and then we have the analog. So you'll be able to viewing all the chunks status and make sure that you have, I think if you have you're using a FXO on the 2 FSOs on your T100 IPPBX, make sure that you have the analogs right here, the analog chunks, and the status is okay and the channel is ideal. Otherwise, you won't be able to make the call or receiving call if you don't have a workable chunk. After we figure out the, make sure the chunk is good to go and good to use, the next step would be creating the IP extensions. So under telephonies, we will be creating the IP extensions. You can using a single edge or a bulk edge, such as like if you need to creating 100 extensions numbers, then you will be using the bulk edge, filling out the password and the extension numbers, and you can leave everything in default, such as the dial permission, it will be defaultly under the dial plan 1. And then the language, you can also leave it in default. And then click on submit. So one IP phones would be requiring, so on each of the IP extensions, it can support up to 5 endpoint devices. You can adjust so you can have one extension number and register it on like 5 different phones. After we created, the extensions in the previous steps, then we will be creating the outbounds called the dial rules. So here you may notice that we have a small modifications on the dial rules comparing to the version 3, the U series. So on the U series, we only need to create the dial rules, not the dial plans. But on the V4, the T series, first thing first, you need to create a dial plan. And then within each dial plan, you will be creating different dial rules for your dial plan. For examples, the dial rules here would be limiting the extension user who's making outbound call, right? So for example, if I'm a sales manager, I'm handling the South America regions, and then for my calling limitations, I will be only able to call the South America countries. And then in that case scenario, things can be very complicated because I need to set up different dial rules, like only numbers starting with this country code and then the numbers starting with that country code, right? But in the past, with the next step, the dial permission, you need to select like a lot of dial rules according to one dial permissions. But if in the T series, since we're using the dial plans, so within the dial permissions, you only need to select like the dial plans or that you need to apply on the dial permissions. So first thing first, we need to create a dial plans and then the different dial rules within the dial plans. And then here is the how you're going to create the dial rules. So after you click on the little add buttons, and then it will have a pop-out box, which requires you to fill in the dial rules patterns here. So there's 2 sections that is required to fill out. First would be the dial patterns. So I have listed out the different numbers in the case, whatever numbers or characters representing on the dial panels. So for example, if we are putting the dial panel with XX dot, that means the number that is calling has to be start with 2 digits. So the first 2 digits has to be a number, any number from 0 to 9. And then the dot means unlimited numbers behind. So the number that is making on the outbound call would be at least 3 digits long, with the first 2 digits has to be a number between 0 to 9. And you can do like another dial rule, such as you can use the brackets. So the bracket match with one of the digits in the brackets. That means the number that is dialed has to be start with the specific number there. And then second thing we need to do is to select the available chunks. So you just need to click on the chunks that you would like to apply on these dial rules, and then click on submit. That will be it. And then after we created the dial rules, then we need to go with the dial permissions. So right under the dial rules, we have the dial permission here. So we need to add so the dial plans 1 is defaultly created with the systems. If you need to adding any new dial permissions, you will be simply click on the add and then adding a new dial permissions. So I got message here one. Different dial panels in one dial, different dial panels in one dial rules. Now you can only do one dial panels in one dial rule, but you can create different dial rules within the same dials plans. On the dial permissions, then 2 sections that we need is required to fill out. First would be the name for the dial permissions. And then the second would be selecting the dial rules here, which is the dial plans that we created. So we have a logo out dial plans, and then we have a dial out. And then after you fill out the names and selected the dial plans, then click on save, click on submit. It will be creating the dial permissions. And then we need to edit the extension dial permissions. So go to the IP extensions. So you will have a list of number that you created, like in the previous slides, we created like 100 extension, right? So on the extensions, if you need to do a bulk edit, so you will be click on this little checkbox on the left of the name. So click on this little checkbox to check out all the extensions, and then click on the edit buttons. And then we will be able to edit the dial permissions. And after that, so the basic 2 steps for let's go back here. So the basic 2 steps for creating the outbound process or outbound step would be, first you need to create the dial plans, and then create some dial rules within the dial plans. And then second, you need to create dial permissions, and then select the dial plan that you created previously. That would be the 2 major steps for making for doing the outbound call settings. And then after we figure out the outbound, and then we will be working on the inbound. So the inbound would be a little bit simpler, easiest to figure it out. So first, you need to go to the outbound routes here, right under telephonies, and then we have the inbound controls, and then we have the inbound routes. the easiest things, if you would like just to try on the PBX, not doing like any business purpose, just trying on and getting the PBX to work. The destination type, you can set up to a extension number such as 101. That means any number that is calling to your FXO number, like your company numbers, it will be go directly to the extension that you set up here. So there are different type of destinations available, such as we have the IVR, we have time rules, we have departments, we have extensions, etc. So we have a full list of extensions type available. But since here, let's assuming that we would just like our IPPBX to able to work, able to receive a call and able to make a call, then we will be setting the destination type to one of the extensions. So you will be selecting extensions and then inputting the extension number, then click on submit. After this step, you should be able to receive a very basic finished IPPBX that is workable, which it will be providing you the ability to make a outbound call and also receiving a call. So that is what we considered as the most basic step that you need to done for the IPPBX. Then after the basic one, we will draw another winner for a $50 Amazon card again before we move on to the hierarchies, the more advanced features for the IPPBX. Are we ready for another draw?
Okay, I'm ready. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, da, da, da. Let's see what I get. Okay, so I think I got my first look here today for the $50 Amazon card would be Aaron Mose. Aaron Mose.
Hi, Aaron Moises.
Oh, Aaron Moises.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the
Congratulations
on the $50 Amazon card.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So let me close the. Okay. And the next section, we will be getting into the more advanced setup here. On the advanced settings, so let's look at the direct routings first. So let's assuming that you're using a PRI module, which will be providing you 31 channels. So you'll be getting like 20 to 30 different numbers with the PRI modules. So if you're using the trunks with 20 lines, so all the cost goes to a specific extension. Now that is not very realistic in real life. When we like really setting up a PBX systems for a enterprise or for a company, so we don't want like all the costs go to a same IVR or going to a same departments or going to like a specific extension, right? So in this case, we can use what we call the direct routing. So the direct routing is basically using the DID numbers. So from the PSTN, if you're using a PRI module, they would be providing you a different different numbers, different phone numbers, such as it ends with 28, 29, 30, 31, right? So we will be able to identify each of the ID number. For example, I assign the number ends with 28 to Emily, and then assign a phone number ends with 29 to Kenny, or to the sales department, or to the marketing departments. So we will be able to adding different DID. So when people is calling 28, the number ends with 28, it will be directly going to Emily. And then if people calling the number that ends with 29, and then it will be directly route the call to like sales department or technical departments. That within the direct routing, we will be able to distinguishing the different numbers that is calling to different destinations. And then the second thing would be setting up a IVR. So the IVR is the feature that when you call a company's phone numbers, the first thing you will be here probably not like, hello, this is Emily, what can I do for you? So the first thing you're probably going to hear is press 1 for English, press 2 for Espanol. So that is what the IVR is. So when you are setting up an IVR, the first step would be uploading the IVR prompts. The IVR's audios is right under the audio library. We have the IVR sections here. So defaultly, it comes with 2 IVR's audio files, which it includes a welcome and a welcome in the Chinese version. Then you can upload your own IVR, such as thank you for calling ABC company, or like any specific language that you're recording in your language for the IVR. So you will be uploading, click on the upload button here. It supports both the MP3 and the WAV. And also the second method would be using the recording. So if you click on the recording, inputting the extension number, such as my extension number is 101. Then my IP phone will be start ringing. Then I pick up the phone and start recording my IVR. After I'm done, I hang up and save the files for my IVR's audio files. After we uploaded the IVR audio files, then the second thing would be setting up the IVR. Then we will go back to the inbound control right under IVR, adding a new IVR here. So we need to set up a name such as welcome in Spanish. And then selecting the specific ID, the voice prompt that you uploaded under the IVR's prompt. And then we will be setting up the events, such as click this little plus button here. If we set up, for example, like 1 for sales department, 2 for technical support, 3 for marketing departments. So we can set up a event like this, or you can set up another IVR inside one IVR. There are like many different destinations that you can set up with the IVR here. And the ZYCOO IPPBX, we support unlimited layers of IVR. So you can create as many layers of IVR that as you need. And the next features here, it is the call queue. So the call queue, it is the feature that if you have a whole bunch of call that is calling to the calling to your companies, or it is a customer service, etc. So at this time, we will need a call queue to hold all the call that is waiting in lines and waiting for a next available agent to pick up. So that is what the call queue is. And right under the IVR, we have the call queue. So just simply click on the add button, adding a new call queue, and you can name like putting into different names for this call queue, such as technical support 1 call queue, or technical support 2, team 2 call queue. Then we setting different numbers for this call queue, and then we have the ring strategy, so it can be ring all or ring like 1 by 1. And then the difference between the StartX agent and the dynamic agent is the StartX agent can automatically receive the call. So the agent here is also related to the operator panel that we will be using later on. So if you are using a operators, you have to have the StartX agents in one of the call queue here. And for the dynamic agents, so for every time they log in, they need to manually log in. If they're using the IP phones, then they can they need to put in the feature code, such as like *62 for manually logins. But for StartX agents, it will be automatically log in and receive call. And dynamic agent, if they don't log in, they won't be able to receive the call. So that's the major difference between these two. And then we can set up the destination if no one answers the phone. It can route to another number, or it can hang up, or it can like do whatever you set up here. And then the next would be the time condition. So time conditions is right under call queue. So you can see there are 3 sections on the time conditions. We have the time rules, we have the weekends, and we have the holiday, right? So before you setting up the time rules, the orders of setting up these 3 sections would be first, you need to fill out the weekdays or the holidays. So you need to first fill out the weekdays, such as like, I'm considering like only Monday to Friday is the weekdays. And then you're giving a name to these weekdays, such as 1 to 5. And then you're setting up different holidays, such as national Chinese holidays, and we have Chinese New Year, etc. So you will be inputting the whole year-long holidays that is in your place onto the holiday seasons. I mean the holiday sections, and then we will be creating the time rules. So click on add, and then we will be selecting the weekdays that we just created, and then we will be selecting the holiday that we created, and then we will be assigning like the destination for a business hours and a destinations for non-business hours. So that is the time conditions, and it applies on such as technical support would be only available from Monday to Friday. So if customer is calling outside the business, such as they calling on the weekends, then which will be forced on the non-business hour destinations. In this case, we can be setting the destination type to another staff who is working from home during the weekends, or we can set the destination to like a voicemails or to another department who is working during the weekend, right? So that is how the time condition work here. And generally speaking, for the most 2 common places that we will be using the time condition, first would be on the inbound route. We will be setting the chunks, which will be the most cases that you'll be using the time condition, because the chunks is directly your phone number, right? So when people is trying to call this number and is within business hour or like outside of the business hour, the system can be determining like which destination should I dispatch this call to. And then the second most common places that we will be applying the time condition would be on the DID, which is the direct routing section that we just went through. So within the specific DID, such as the DID number that is like specially assigned for me, and I'm not working on Sunday, right? And then the destination type for my DID would be, depends on what I set up on the time conditions. So on my DIDs, I can set up the destination time regarding to the time route and whatever time route that I set up. And then the final destination for business and on business within the time conditions. And then there are two other places that you can apply for the time conditions. First one would be the apartments. So whenever if people trying to call the apartment numbers, we can use the time routes, such as if non-business hour, then it will be directly route to another destinations. And then the second, the other places that we can also apply the time condition, the time routes would be on the dial routes. So what the dial rule is making outbound call, right? So if we set up the time routes here, such as if we set up only Monday to Friday is the business hour, if people trying to use this dial routes to make call during the weekends, it cannot make calls. It cannot make the outbound call. So if we apply the time rules here, and then when the time is falls on business hours, they cannot make any outbound call. But for using the time condition, the time rules on the outbound control is not quite common as you applying on the departments or on the trans. All right, hopefully you guys can see my share screens here. So after you log into our PBX, here is the index interface, which will be showing different sections here, including like the CPU status, and then you have the current cost, and then like how many SIP extensions and the SIP trunks that is registered to the PBX. And we have the memory pie check here, and also the system information, etc. So that is the monitor interface. And after that, we have the extensions. So it will be showing all the extensions in these little triangles. Not triangles, I mean rectangles. And then it was showing the name and the extension number, and also the status, and if they are online, and it will be also showing the device IP address. Then let's go to, so in the previous slides with the presentation slides, we went over the extension here. So we went over the steps, creating the IP extensions. So you can singly add, or you can bulk add different, they're not connecting to Wi-Fi, okay. And then analog extensions. So if you are using any FSS modules and you have the analog phone that is connected to the FSS modules, it will be showing the information here. Then we went over the IVRs, etc. And I would like to went over the advanced feature here. So on the first advanced features, besides the one that we just went through, like we went through the call queue, but we went through the time conditions, we went through the direct routing, and then the another advanced telephony features would be the call forwards. So if you need to call forwards any numbers, so it would be just like simply select the extensions and then select the forward type, such as I would like to forward my call when busy or when it's non-available or like any conditions that match with the forward type. And then the destination, you can fill out like say 101 or 102. So that would be a call forward features. So whenever a call is coming to this extension, such as 100, and it will be using the forward R, it will be always forward to the destination of A42 here. And follow me would be a feature that if you will be inputting different numbers within the follow me, such as, for example, my extension is 800, and then the follow me list that I am creating, it will be first forward, it will first trying to catch me on another extension, such as A01. And then and the second number that is trying to catch, if I'm not answering the A01, it will try to catch me on 101. And then the another list, you can like inputting a number of different numbers in this list, including like your different extension number. You can inputting your cell phone numbers, your home phone numbers, right? I can inputting such as that is my cell phone numbers. I can input a cell phone numbers here, submit. So whenever I'm not picking, have the follow me features on, the system will try to catch me with this list of numbers one by one until I pick up the phone or until it reach out to the last number. And if still no one answered like any one of the numbers, then it will end the call. Then we have the wake up call would be simply as the name applies. So you will be selecting a specific day, such as for tomorrow at whatever time, okay. And then a specific number such as 118, that is my my numbers. So this feature, the wake up call feature, is more likely applying in the scenario if you're working on like have the PBX with for the hotel scenario. So you need to inputting the wake up call features for different guest rooms, for different hotel rooms there. And then we have the conference. So on the previous version, not the previous version, I mean on the U series, the version 3, we support 10 conference room. But on the T series, we upgraded to unlimited number of conference room. So you can create as many as you need. And after you create the conference room here, you have the conference room numbers. And then you can use the PBX panel for the conference call, such as like click on the room and then inviting different extensions for this conference. And then we have the defaults. And let's quickly go over. We have the pagings, which will be creating different groups, I believe. So you will be creating different groups here and then selecting the group members for the for a paging purpose. And we also have another paging that is available on the operator panel as well. And then we have the Smart ID, which will be enabling a time of validations, such as, so these features more applies to when, for example, when I call to the customers of ZYCOO, and then I have the IVR, and then they route me to the sales department for the final destinations. And then the sales manager told me that I need to call back in 3 days and they will get the response for me. In this case, I don't want to, after 3 days, and I call back to ZYCOO again, I don't want to go through like all the routings and then going through like all the 2 different agents. So if we have the Smart ID features enabled, the system will have my records from the previous call and knowing which was my final destinations on the, so for the next time I'm called to the same ZYCOO numbers, and then it knows, okay, so Kenny was the last final destination and the person that I speak with. So the next time I call in, and it will directly route me to Kenny's extensions. And you can select the time of validation, such as 1 day or like 1 week, 1 month at most for these smart ID features. And it can apply to different channels. So we got different channels here. We got the FSO and we got some SIP channels here. Then we have the phone book. So which it is a phone book. Then we have the callback feature, the whitelist. And so the whitelist is actually under the advanced advanced features, and we also have the blacklist, which is under the inbound control. So if you need to put in anyone that you need to block, like any number that you need to block, you're inputting the numbers into the blacklist here. Okay, and then let's go over with the new feature that we have. Give me 1 second here. Can I get new share? Okay, and let's go over some plugins. So if you are using the cold call push notifications or the operator panels or the phone auto configuration, any one of the features, you need to go to the system setting plugins on this page and make sure that you have the operations on. So the static has to be running because all 3 features is defaultly disabled, because if you don't use the features and you have the ops, if you don't use the features and you have the these options on, it will take the server's resources, which might be will lead to increase the concurrent cost or the using the system resource. So if you don't use the features here, you can stop the operations. But if you are using like anyone, if you're using the cold call, if you're using the PBX panel, make sure that you have these operations on. Otherwise, you won't be able to do all the configurations for these features. And then the next would be the control panels. So first thing first, let me switch back to the control panels. Okay. So for using the control panels, first thing first, as I mentioned earlier, we need to have the extension user to be a static agent, which you will be in the call cube here. You can add in a new call cube or like adding one of the call cube, and make sure that the extension that you're going to assign for the operator, for the panel operator, it is one of the static agent. So these sections here. And then after we configure the static agents in the call cube, the next thing we will need to do is to creating the login account for the operators, for the panel operators. So we go to settings, accounts. And then if we click on add, then inputting the username, password, and the roles has to be selected as the panel users. And in this point, it will be asking you for the extensions, which we just assigned it for, say, static agents. So for example, let's assuming that I assign A12 in one of the core cube and I say static agents, and then the cube, nope. Okay, thanks. Which one that, I don't think they are in this one, nope. Never mind. Let me add a core cube here. Core cube. Can 153 and settings. 153. There you go. Click on submit. And then I have just added the panel operators Emily and password 123456 as the panel users here. And then the next step would be downloading the operator panels. So you guys can download the downloads. So on the ZYCOO official website, right under downloads, you should be able to find the operator panels. So we support both the Windows and Mac OS. So download and install these software applications on your desktop. Then after you successfully install the applications, the next thing would be logging into the operator panel using the operator user that we just created. So would be so I just use the operator user that we created, Emily here, and then we log into this operator, this PBX panel. And I will be giving more introductions on the PBX panels later on. But that is, and you guys can see that is the index interface of the operator panels. It shows all the extensions, and it shows the core cubes, current cost list, queuing core list, and the pack list. And then we have like different features here, like consoles, meetings, etc. And I'll giving more details in introductions later on. But let's go back to the. Now let's go back to the. Here we go. So on the control panels, I have created the role maps for you guys. Which first step, you need to create or edit the core cube to add a static agents. The next will be creating the operator panels. Creating the operator users. And then the next thing would be downloading and install the panel software from our official website, ZYCOO.com. And then the next thing would be using the user that we just created to log into the panels. So that are the basic 4 steps of how you get into the panels, to the PBX panels. Then the next features would be, let's go back to, the next features would be our always online plans. So on our models on the T series, it supports the first year free for our always online plans. So if we go to add-ons here, we have the remote access. Then we have the remote setting. So on the proxy settings, you need to fill out the section that is with the star, such as company name, countries, city, etc. The top sections and then also the domain. And you need to select the domain servers. So we have currently on the international version, I don't think the China server is available. So for the international versions, I believe there are 5 servers available. So you guys need to pick one that is closest to your country, such as if you are in Philippines or if you're in Malaysia, then you will be selecting the Singapore servers and then inputting your domain, such as abc.com. And then the domain generated will be abc.com.sg.zcoo.com. And then also select the protocols. So it defaultly in UDP, but if you're in the country that is not allowed to use UDP, you need to select like TCP or TLS. Anyways, and then after you fill out all the information, next thing will be click on the submit button. And then if you are using the first year free trial, then you will click on this free trial buttons. After you click it, it will go back to the status. Since on this PBX, I already activate my first year free trial testing. And after you go to the status, you will click on the synchronized certifications, these buttons. So if you're the first time using the free trial package, these buttons should be green and you are able to click on these buttons to synchronize the certificates on our servers. If you're using the free versions, you don't need to download and upload the license. The license is automatically generated within our PBX. And then the last step would be turn on these enable buttons. After these 3 steps, fill in the information, submit, and then click on the free trial buttons, synchronize the certificates, enable the servers. Then you are receiving the first year free of Always Online plans. And the proxy status here would be saying registered, and you will have your domain server such as abc.com.zip.zcoo.com. So that is the process of getting the first year free on our Always Online plans. And then if you are well on the second year and you would like to renew the Always Online plans, that would be similar to the one that you're using for the free trial Always Online plans. But the difference between is on the free trial mode, you don't need to download the license. You don't need to download the license files and uploading the license files. But if you're doing a paid version, you need to fill out all the information and then submit, click on download and send the license file to us, and we will be returning you the license to activate the servers, the proxy servers, and you click on upload and then uploading the files to activate the proxy servers. Then if we go to right here on these slides, I have screenshotted the step-by-step. So first fill out the information, click on submit, and then free trial. If we are doing a paid version, then we need to fill out the information, submit, download, and get the license from the code, and then upload the license. On either way of the method, you need to go to the status and check on your proxy status, such as if saying unregistered, that means you have not yet activated the proxy servers. So if saying registered, that means the proxy service is already activated. And one thing that we need to be very careful about is the domain servers. So this domain server is using to access your IP PBX remotely. So you need to be very careful on not like exporting the IP address on the internet, because if you're exporting the address, it will be easily get attacked. It will be more than likely get attacked if you export the IPs on the internet. And also from the previous slides, there is an option called the remote web access when you are filling out all the information. So if you do not have these features enabled, then your domains won't be able to access remotely. But if you have these options enabled, then you will be able to access your IP PBX with the provided domain address here versus the browser. And then the next features would be the remote management. On the remote management, I have put out the roadmaps here. So first, you need to get your accounts from ZYCOO. So the remote management is, for now, is only available for the ZYCOO partners. So if you are our partners, we will be create a partner account for you, and you'll be using the account that we provide for you to log into these remote management platforms. And then after you log into the platforms, you'll be creating a invitation code for the PBX. And then the third step would be using the invitation code that you created from the platform, send it to your clients, have your clients to inputting this invitation code in their PBX. So in their PBX, there is a section called the remote management. So they need to inputting this invitation code. That means they are authorizing you the permission to be able to connect with their PBX, and also have the enabled buttons on. And the last step would be you are now connected to the PBX, to your client PBX, and you are able to do the centralized management using the remote management platform here. So let's say if you have 100 clients and you have 100 PBX need to manage, and you need to check the status daily, and you need to do the troubleshooting, system configurations, etc. for your clients. So it would be very helpful if you're using the remote management platform here. And let me show right here. Okay, and here is how the remote management platform looks like after you log in on the device list. If you would like to connect with a new PBX, we will be generating a invitation code or a verification code here, copies, and then a description would be, I don't know, Emily's PBX. Yeah. And then I will be using the verification code that I just created and connect with the PBX. Let's see, I can do this one. Okay. Okay. So the Emily's PBX is online now. And then we have the cold call Softphones. So if we are using the cold call Softphone first, right under the add-ons, there is a section called the Softphones. So on the settings, first thing first, we need to enable the cold calls push notifications. So this enable means the push notifications. And then we will be selecting the, we'll be inputting the servers. So if you are using the proxy servers, then you don't need to inputting anything here for the servers or for the pods, because on the on our PBX, we will be firstly trying to catch the proxy's IP address. If there is no proxy address, it will try to catch the WAN address and also the port number. But if you are using a let's say if you having a public address and you would like to use your own public address for the softphone registrations and the push notifications, in that case, you need to fill in the servers here, servers and the server's address and the port numbers here. And we will be using these information for generating the QR code. And so after you done with the settings here, you need to go to the IP extensions sections and then click on the QR codes, downloading the QR codes and send it to the end users who will be using the soft phones. And then they need to download the soft phone first, of course, and then scanning the QR code that you send them to log in. After they log in, you'll be able to see who is using the code course within the soft phone list. So doing the settings list. So that is the list that I would know who is at least successfully registered the code card. And we will be using these tokens for the push notifications. And the next features would be for the billing systems. So for using the billing systems, it is a complete free add-ons. So there's no charge on using the billing systems. First step, you need to ask, same as creating the panel users, you need to create a billing user, right? Under the accounts, and the settings and accounts, you will be creating a user role under billing manager. And then we will be using this login credential that we created for the billing users to log into the same IP PBX. So if we using, so since our PBX is multi user roles, so if you're using the amends login credential login, it will be showing you the amends interface. If you're using the operator login credentials, it will be showing you the operator interface. If you're using the billing users, it will be showing you the billing user, which look like here in step 3. So after you log in, you can do whatever operation that you need within the billings, such as you can charge and recharge on a specific extensions and adding the amount of money for extension 101s. And then we also have the call logs, the data reports, etc., all within the billing systems here, and free to use. Then the next features would be the hot standby. So as we know, for the U series, only the U80s and the U100 support the hot standby features. But on the T series, all models from the T100s to the T600 all support the hot standby features. So you can use 2 PBX server to run simultaneously. In case one server is down, then the secondary servers will be able to pick up the operations for the first PBX. And the settings for the hot standby is quite straightforward. So first thing first, you need to enable the hot standby feature here. And then on the username and password, so these sections have to be the same for both servers. For both IP PBX has to be the same. And then on the mode, one will be selecting as the primary server, and the other one would be selecting as the secondary server. And then on the IP, they will be inputting each other's IP, such as if on the primary servers, I will be inputting the slave, which is the secondary server's IP address. And then on the secondary servers, I will be inputting the primary IP address. Then on the virtual IP, which is a virtual IP that they use in common for representing in outside. So this virtual IP has to be the same as well. And then the green section is optional. So if you would like to receive a email notifications, and if you would like to receive a phone call notifications, you can inputting the information here. But one thing that we need to be heads up on the notification email is, if you're using these features, we need to configure the email servers first. The SMTP servers at first, otherwise it won't be able to send out the notification emails here. Okay, let me go back to the prompt here. So that is the add-ons, and on the API, I got one question during the break is, are we supporting the AMI? Yes, we do support the AMI. So you can creating the account here, and then inputting the allowed IPs. And then if you like have a self-developed platforms and you're using the AMIs, can use the account settings here, creating the user and the password and doing the operations versus your platforms. And then we have the push notifications, which is so if you have another platform and you would like to receive the notification from a specific type of operation that happens on the IPPBX, then we can set up a feature like this right here, such as, so we have the agents log in and log off, and we have the URL here. So the URL, that means the destination that you would like the notification to send to. So let's say if I have a platform, I have a self-platform, and that is a CRM system, so like a hotel, the PMS systems. Then I would like to know whenever, every time the agent is logged in or logged off, then if we set up the push events here, so whenever the agent logged in, the PBX systems would be pushed a package, a data package to the destination that you're inputting here, and then you would be able to receiving the package and then unpack the package and getting all the information that within the package, such as like the extension ID numbers, the time of the agent login, etc. And you will be able to using whatever data that you need within the package. So that is the push event. And also we have the PMS API integrated with the T-Series as well. So that is something that we don't have for the T-Series. So when we have the PMS API enabled it within, so it will be, the PBX will be opening a new part, the AT-AT part, which will be containing the TCP sockets. So your PMS platform, your PMS servers would be able to getting the information that you need for data exchange using the AT-AT parts. Then we went over the expansion box, devices settings. Let's see what else. We went over the control panels, which we will be going over in more specific later on. Then we went over auto configurations. Here we go. So during the break, we did get quite some questions on the auto configurations. So if your IP phone is under the same network, you can use the scan to scan the IP phones for auto configurations, or you can manually adding the IP phone so that if the brand that we support. So we support like Accountos, Cisco's, firmwares, H-Tech, Yearlink, and also ZYCOO. So if we click on Yearlink, there is the model that we support for auto configurations. So they support 6 lines, probably more than 6 lines. Here we go. Then we can set up the extensions for a specific zip lines, such as like whatever number here. And then we can set up the function key, the features and preference, etc. using the auto provisioning features here. Then let's see. Let's go to the operating panel. So let's quickly went over some of the features on the panels, on the PBX panels. So after you use the panel user login credential to log in, on the upper left corners, there is like a little dial icons. So if you click on that, there is a dial keypad that you can use for dialing any numbers. And then we have different features like wake up calls. We have the address book, blacklist, call forwards, call history, etc. for these features. So that, and on the attendee, on the index panels, if these two extension is in a call, you can do some operations like splitting a call or monitoring a call or whisper by a call. And then also there's like a little 2 icons here that is dials and the do not disturb. So if I click on do not disturb, it will turn on the DNDs for these specific extensions. And then the second icons on the left, that is the console's interface. So on this interface, we'll be using for playing, let's assuming the AO3 and the AO4, they both speaker. So we can click on the play to play some background music for these 2 endpoints, for these 2 speakers. And we also support like intercoms. If you have registered 2 intercoms or like the 2-way communication speakers onto the PBX, you can use the intercom features, or you can do the page, which is the paging. Before we doing the playing the background music, first thing we should go is go to the music sections here. We can upload the music file that you have onto this music library. So just click and draw the files here for uploading the music to the music libraries, and then creating different playlists. So we can create like 1 playlist for Monday and 1 playlist for Tuesdays, etc. And after we created the playlist here, we can go back to the consoles and selecting different devices, and then select the playlist that we create for play the background music. Then we have the meetings. So on the PBX, remember that we created different conference rooms. So within the panels, you can use this conference room, such as if I click on this conference room, I can inviting different users to the conference. So if I selected like these two numbers, and then their phones will be start ringing, and then inviting them to the conference. But one thing that we need to be aware of is the conference here is for audio conference only. The panel is not yet support the video conference. And then we have the tasks. So there are 3 types of tasks within the PBX panels. We have the first one, we have the time rules, we have the number triggers, and we have the instant, which is the immediate task. So let's go over one by one. So with the time rules, let's say, I don't know, like Monday, no, like morning task. And then we can do a repeated task. So selecting the groups here, and then if we selecting from today to the end of the month, selecting only for the weekdays. If you have any holiday between this month, such as like Christmas, then we will be inputting the 25th as Christmas as holidays. So the task will be skipping this day. So even though let's assuming the Christmas is Mondays, it will even is Mondays, but since it is a holidays, it will be skipping the holidays here. And then we will be selecting the time period, such as like from in the mornings to 8:05. 8:50, here we go. We will be playing 50 minutes of background music. And you can also add another time period, such as like I would like to play from like 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, that would be 18, I mean, to 8:50. So in these 2 time period, 2 time slots, 50 minutes each, this task would go on. And then we will be selecting the place resources, which is the playlist that we created within this music section. And then we will be selecting the specific devices. So let's assuming that A06 and A07, they are both speaker. Then we can use it for these 2 speakers to play the announcements on in December, only from Monday to Fridays, with only on these 2 time slots. And the number of plays you can do like 1 times, or if you are inputting 0 time, that means infinite number. So it will be going on and on and on. And then we will click submit for submitting the task. Let's see. And then the second type of task would be the number trigger task. So for what the number trigger task is, it is a preset task. So you need to, so you will be setting up the task first and then use it later. For example, if I'm setting up a task for a earthquake evacuations, so everyone need to leave the building immediately. So if I recorded a message and then uploaded the message and then create a playlist, put the message in it, and then my resource here would be selecting the specific playlist that I created especially for the earthquake. And then I will inputting a star triggering numbers, such as that is the passcode for your for your task, such as, for example, like 1, 2, 3, and then the stop number will be 3, 2, 1. For the number trigger task, and when there is like a real earthquake comes, I can activate this task using the IP phone and inputting the star trigger numbers. And also, if you need to stop it, you will be inputting using your IP phone again to inputting the stop trigger numbers here. And the infant would be the immediate task. So after you create a task, it will be triggered immediately. So that is all did I miss anything here? Okay, language. So that is pretty much all the major features that you can get from the operator panels. So on the index interface, you will be doing all the telephony features like call transfers, call park, call monitoring, whispers, call splits, all these telephony features within the index interface. And then we will be doing all the music related or audio related features within the second console interface, which will be including like a play background music. You need to do a emergency paging, or you need to call a intercom. You need to call multiple devices. So it will be the intercoms here. And then also we can use it for the meeting. So click on the meeting rooms and inviting different extensions to this meeting room. And then tasks and also music. Let's see, let me go back to the okay. So we went over all the major features and the basic setup and the more advanced setup for the IP PBX. And the next part would be looking into the common issue. So for the so when you are using a IP PBX, when it comes with an issue, it can be very complicated. So I don't divide it into like all kind of issues onto these trainings, but we do have a comprehensive documentations on our websites, and and it listed most of the issues that you guys might face while you're using the IP PBX. So before, I would strongly suggest you guys, before you reach out to the technical support, please look through the common issues on our website and see if any solution there might be able to solve your emergency problems. So let's go for the first most common issues here would be the when you are trying to register a IP extensions, I mean like IP phones, there might be some unsuccess case. For example, for the first, if we are trying to register a IP extensions and it returns a 401, that means unauthorized. So first thing you would like to check is if you are registered. So there are many cases and scenario involved here. So if you are registering the extension remotely, or you have a different network segment, you need to turn on the remote extensions options right under the IP extensions here. And then second thing that you would like to check is the permitted IP, which will be limited to a specific IP address to be able to register this extension number. So make sure you check these two. for if you are getting a 401 error back. And then if you are getting a 403, that means you need to check your password. If you're getting a 403, that more than likely you have a wrong password. If you're getting a 404, that more than likely you are inputting the wrong username. And then if there's nothing returns, the registration static is just like keep trying and trying and trying. That means the server has not yet. It can be either the servers didn't get the response back to the IP phones. So on these points, you need to check is if you are using a port forwarding on your network, then you would like to check the port forwarding on your routers. Make sure that the port is matching with the ports on our IPPBS. So on the real IP advanced settings, there are sections indicated the UDP and the TCP TLS. So the 5060 is the default port we use for UDP and the TCP. So in many cases, if you're using a port forwarding in your own network, you would change the default ports. So if you change the default ports on the port forwardings on your router, you need to also matching the same port numbers here on our PBX. And then the second would be checking the PBX IP address and the port number. So when you are registering the IP phones on the IP phones systems configuration page, then you need to check on the PBX IP address and also the port number, make sure that they are filled correctly. And then the second most common issue would be you're not able to making the call. So this issue can be very complicated because we can divide it into two different scenarios here. So when we indicating a issues here, when saying like we cannot make the call. So it can be either I cannot make the outbound call or I cannot make receiving the inbound call, right? So if you are not able to making the outbound call, first thing we would like, by the way, on the IP phone registrations, we also need to check on the IP phones itself. So a lot of time, there is an issue with the IP phone itself. So if you're trying all the methods and you're still not getting the IP phone to able to register to the to the extensions numbers, try another IP phone. Try to use a soft phone or another IP phone and see if it works. Because there's in some cases, and that is the problem with the IP phone. And anyways, so if we cannot making the outbound call, we will be separating this case into different scenarios. For example, if you're using an FSO analog lines, first thing we would like to check is whether or not the module is workable. Sometimes if the module is not working or the module is damaged, you won't be able to make the call. So the easiest way to checking the module is workable. That is, you can create a IVR and then setting up the inbound route with the IVR, and then use your phone numbers to call the FSO, the analog number, the analog lines number. And then if you don't hear anything from the IVR audio, that means more than likely the module is damaged. But there are other cases There are other cases here. So if we cannot make the outbound call or receiving the second cases would be you need to check the settings for the analog settings, because according to different countries, they have specific analog signals settings on using the FSO. For example, upper mode. So for our upper mode, it defaults in FCC, but in some specific countries, like in the UK, I believe they using a different upper mode. If I think they use like whatever, like something like related to the UK's modes. And also the caller ID signals. So in the UK, I believe they're using like something called IVC or whatever things for the caller ID signals. So it depends on the countries and the it depends on the countries and the analog lines and the signal settings that they are using in that countries. But more than likely, when it comes to a analog lines problems, I would say most of the our partners, our clients would need the technical support, and our technical engineer will be asking you to capture the analog lines package for us to analyze the signals within the lines. So here is the path that you guys can use it to capture the analog lines package and send it to us to analyze the what problem is going on with the analog lines. If we are cannot make any outbound call with the PRI chart, so first thing you would like to check, it is the outbound CID within the IP extension number. So it depends on the PSTNs. For some of the PSTN, they do require you to fill out the outbound CID, and you can input a outbound CIDs, and if it depends on the PSTN, they need to do the authentications or not. So if you are like randomly inputting a outbound CID, if they do check on the authorizations, then it won't pass the match. So right here, you will be need to filling out the number that is provided from the PSTN for your PRI. So I would say like 90 to 95% of the issue, if you cannot make the outbound call using the PRI chance, check out the outbound CID first. It can fix the like 90% of the problems here. And then the second thing, the second option that you would like to check on is the CRC4 on the module. So if you go to the PRI's module settings, you can, so it depends. So the CRC4 here is depends on the PRI, the PSTN providers for you guys. So because we don't know the device on another side from the PSTN, they have CRC4 on or off. So on the CRC4 is the fully off on our systems, but you can try to turn it on or off to try to give it a try on the CRC4. So sometimes the CRC4 can fix the problems on the PRI transform not able to make the calls. And the last one would be using the SIP chance. So same as the PRI. So SIP chance, you need to first would like to check out the outbound CID first, because on some of the providers, PSTNs or providers, they do require you to like filling out the outbound CID. And then the second would be, so in this case, like needing a SIP header for the data transfer is very a pretty like rare case. So probably like only 5 to 10% of the issue causing by is the SIP headers. But if you have the outbound CIDs already fill in and fill in correctly, and then you would like to check on the SIP headers, which will be you need to enable the PAIs, and also for the dial permissions, it is default. So if you are like manually choosing a different dial permissions, it might cause the problems. And all the cannot make cause analyzations here is based on we have everything set up correctly. So I mean, what I mean here is we have the extension number that we could create the correct dial rules. We create the correct dial permissions, and we have the SIP trunk that is workable under all these circumstances, and you cannot still not able to make the call. So of course, first thing first, you would like to check out all the setting that is related to making any outbound call or receiving any inbound call, right? So for example, we went through the time rules, which is the time conditions which we set up if during non-business hours. If we set up the time rules in that area, that means the extension, the IP extension is not able to make the call during the non-business hour. In that case, that might be one of the cost problems here. So all these like checking the outbound CID and checking the right here, and checking the CIC4 is all based on the circumstances that we have everything set up correct. And then the next most common issue would be you're not able to hang up the call. So on the new T series, we have implemented these issues. So on the dashboard sections under trunks, for analog trunks, we have this option called free lines, which you can manually free the lines. So in what scenario that you cannot hang up the calls? So when someone is trying to call your numbers and then you have a call forwards to your cell phone numbers. In that case, the PBX would be making receiving a inbound call and then using the SIP trunks, not the SIP trunks, the FSO trunks to making the outbound call. And after the call is done, then the analog lines might not able to free the lines. So in that case, you can manually free the lines. And then the second settings that you would like to check is also on the BC counts. So that is the setting related, the system would be able to count the signals for whatever number the values that you inputting here. For example, what I'm inputting 5 here. So the system would be detecting 5 continuous signals in order to know that the call is N. So in that case, we can set the BC count to a smaller number, such as like 2 or 3. That means because like on some of the signals, it might be a little bit crash. So doing the signals, it has the BC count, but it might be like a 3, and then there is like another 2 signals, and then the BC count signals for another 2 or another 3. In that case, if we can set up the BC count to a smaller numbers for the PBX to identify whether or not the call is N. And then in some countries, their calls includes a specific count signals, which is the hang-up polarities signals. So if the that signals indicates the call is N, so if you in that specific countries, then we need to turn on these options for our PBX to, in order for our PBX to indicate that the signals there and for ending the call. And then if you cannot hang up the call with the zip chunks, so that would be more than likely if you are using a having the port forwarding with your network, you would like to check out the real IP event settings. Make sure that you have the external media address and you have the external signaling address filled in, because for our PBX, we won't be able to know the port forwarding that you set up on your gate on your router. So we need to tell the PBX which port and what address that you assign the PBX as the port forwarding address, in order for us to knowing like doing everything correctly. So that would be some of the common issue cases. But as I said, that when there is issue comes with the PBX, not like the basic configurations, when there is like a issue with like dialing a cost or receiving a cost, that can be like very complicated because it involves with many parts, not only with the PBX, a lot of times it involves with the PSTN, and it involves with the network and so on. Having the port forwarding with your network, you would like to check out the real IP event settings. Make sure that you have the external media address and you have the external signaling address filled in, because for our PBX, we won't be able to know the port forwarding that you set up on your gate on your router. So we need to tell the PBX which port and what address that you assign the PBX as the port forwarding address, in order for us to knowing like doing everything correctly. So that would be some of the common issue cases. But as I said, that when there is issue comes with the PBX, not like the basic configurations, when there is like a issue with like dialing a cost or receiving a cost, that can be like very complicated because it involves with many parts, not only with the PBX, a lot of times it involves with the PSTN, and it involves with the network and so on.